Hello, Dorothy.
Who is this? Who am I speaking to?
You don't know who this is. I know you. We have spoken before. What can you do for me? I'm your lost love. I'm the man in your life forever. We're in a relationship. You belong to me, and I belong to you.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Criminal Psychology Files. This is Greg Stewart. We're about to explore into a case to do a total deep dive in reference to the case of Dorothy Jane Scott, a young mother from Stockton, California, who vanished in 1980. After months of being stalked, the person who would call her, because that's how he made most of his contact before he did abduct her, but he claimed to love her only to call later on to her family members and tell her, one person in particular, Vera, that, hey, you know your niece who lived with you? Well, not only did I abduct her, but I killed her. So we're going to get a deep dive into this. But before we do, please comment, please share, please like, because it really does help us. And of course, most important to us, please subscribe. So once again, help this podcast continue to grow. We love the enthusiasm that you're showing thus far. Please continue to help this podcast. Subscribe, like, and share, and comment. And now on with the story. So in 1980, Dorothy Jane Scott was a 32-year-old mother of one. She had a little 4-year-old boy by the name of Sean, and she lived with her Aunt Vera in the town of Stockton, California. She held two jobs. One was for her dad, and one was moonlighting at another place. Both dealt with psychedelics, lava lamps, really cool psychedelic like rugs and colors and things that would catch people more probably today on the metaphysical side. Well, as she was working there, she would meet a whole bunch of different kinds of people, but she would never, even though she was requested on many a time, hey, do you want to go out? Do you want to hang out? She was really devoted to being a mom and also very much into her faith of Christianity. So she didn't really want to make time away, particularly from her son. As soon as she was done working, she made it a point to go home and be a mom and hang out with Aunt Vera. She really wasn't looking for any type of connection. So she goes to work, comes home, and as she's home and her son is put to sleep, she decides to watch some television. As she's watching some television, well, the phone rings. And when the phone rings, it's the most creepy phone call a person could get. So the person on the other end emphasizes that I know you. You might not remember me, but I sure know you. And I've been watching you. And I feel like that you and I are meant to be, that we're going to be lovers. And then that was the end of that. She hung up on the person. She thought, okay, what a creep. Didn't think anything of it. But this would happen on a regular evening basis. No one would ever confront her at her jobs. No one would ever say anything because that would be the place she figured that if someone was to make contact from me, that would be the place to ask me out or do this. But to get these phone calls in the middle of the night really creeped Dorothy out. So from this point, she gets another call, about three in a row at this point, saying the same things. And the person is now getting frustrated. They're saying, why won't you ask about us getting together? And she like says, I'm trying to be nice here. I'm just not interested. I thought the other calls where we hung up with each other would have stated that. But he said, no, you just have to understand I'm meant to be with you. And again, she hangs up the phone, not thinking the wiser. until the phone calls become darker. And what do I mean by dark? They become very violent. Violent to the point where he says, I know where you live. I know that you drive a white station wagon. I know that you live with an older woman and you have a little boy. And I know these things. Now, Dorothy's heart starts beating. She starts realizing that this isn't just an ordinary prank phone call. This is a real psychopath. So
Hello, Dorothy.
Who is this? I don't want you to bother me anymore. Do not call here. I've gone to the police. They know that you're stalking me. I need you to stop now. I want you to stop now. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences. You're going to get arrested. Leave me alone and don't call here ever again.
Yes, I'm going to continue to call you until you agree to meet with me. We're meant to be. And if you don't do as I say, I'm going to hurt you. I am going to break you bits and bits. You went to the police. They can't do anything. And now I'm going to hurt you, Dorothy, because you're trying to hurt me. I'll give you another chance to prove your love to me.
she goes into work the next day and she meets with her colleagues, Pam and Conrad. And she tells them the story. And they said, you know, we need to go to the police. We'll go with you because we notice that you're not yourself these days. So she goes over to the police station and they say, well, what do you have for us? Not that we don't believe you, but what kind of proof? Does this person come to your home knocking on a door at a certain time in the evening? We could have police going up and down the neighborhood. No, he just happens to call me every night at different times. Well, we can't really help you with that. There's a lot of weirdos in the neighborhood. There's nothing we can do. Now, 1980 was a time, unlike today's technology, where, they might have just experimented with caller IDs, but it was really hard to pinpoint anybody. And if you're wondering, well, how does a person like this get a person's address in the 1980s? Well, we had back then the white pages. It was a thick book of your residential community and all the other cities, towns, boroughs, and so forth. They would all be listed in reference to residents that live in certain counties. So it wasn't hard to find someone if you knew their first name and last name. And this person already indicated, I know you from work, even though you don't know me. Now, Dorothy did emphasize to Pam and Conrad that his voice does sound familiar, but I can't put a face to it, meaning I probably did meet him at one of my jobs. So this person found her in the phone book. He's stalking her, and now to the point the phone rings and rings. She doesn't want her aunt to wake up. She doesn't want her son Sean to wake up, so she answers the phone. What is it? What do you want from me? Now he's at a point that he's so angry because with rejection comes obsession. So at this point, he emphasizes, look, you've rejected me far too long. I'm going to hurt you now. I'm going to take this to a level, and it's your fault because all I wanted to do was give you my love. Now I'm going to kill you. Now I'm going to chop you up into bits. And this was what was said. So at this point, now she's even more scared, that to the point she starts taking martial arts. She even contemplates about getting a gun because she's starting to feel, and if your instincts tell you this, the threat is more than likely going to be real. Your subconscious mind will connect with you when you try to de-escalate, and the person on the other hand is escalating it. You better believe that is a major red flag. And if you don't know the differences of stalking and the levels of stalking, take a look at this chart here so you know what to look for. If you notice red flags but you're not sure of how the phases go in reference to stalking, take a look at this chart and see if there is someone or someone you know that is being affected right now by these phases right here. So we already see how this is escalating. So Dorothy notices how this is escalating. And again, the phone rings. And now she's caught in a pattern, picking up the phone so the little one and her aunt don't wake up. And she also maybe spoke a little bit to her aunt, but she doesn't want to alarm her, saying, I'm going to the police, I'm doing martial arts. It's enough to still alarm you. But now she gets a call in the middle of the night. And she says, hello. And he says, it's me. And I just want you to know that I left something for you on your car. Now Dorothy realizes it's at the highest level, at least in her mind. He's now at my home and he's leaving things on my car, on my white station wagon. And she waits till daylight because there's no way in hell she's going out there at night. She doesn't have a gun yet and she only knows a little bit in reference to self-defense. So the morning comes, Aunt's up looking through the window, making breakfast, not even knowing the wiser. She sees dead roses on her car. So at this point, heart is beating. She's overwhelmed. She goes to work that evening. Dorothy's Aunt Vera is watching Sean, and she talks to her friends, Pam and Conrad. And she says, this is really getting out of hand. Well, you know, there's nothing you can do. The police already told you until this person tries something. Even putting a rose on there doesn't mean anything, and which was a shame at that time. You can actually do these things, and the police maybe will pass an officer around, but unless that person comes to your home, knocks, and then you can get them caught in the act. It was really difficult for the police to basically get involved. They just had other things they had to do. Well, now Conrad's looking a little peaked, and as he's looking a little peaked, she says, I'm sorry we have to be here. I know we're at a staff meeting. We really don't even work this night, but you don't look so good. He goes, yeah, I think I got bit by something. He shows his hand to Pam and Dorothy, and they go, oh, that looks awful. And Dorothy says, well, let's take you to the doctors. And so Pam goes, yeah, we'll go together. So all three get into the white station wagon that Dorothy owns, and they drive over to the closest medical center. And in there, sure enough, he was bit by something, and the doctors stated that Conrad was bit by a black widow. So that would definitely discover in reference to how he felt and the symptoms that he was getting. So now Pam and Conrad are going to be discharged. So Dorothy says, I'm going to run out and I'm going to pull the car up front. So that will make life a little easier. It's late. We've been here a long time. So she leaves the hospital. She goes to her car. And if you know hospitals, sometimes the ER's entrance, the parking is a lot further than actually the entrance unless you drive up to the front. And they probably do this because ambulances are coming and going. So she heads out to her car. And now Pam and Conrad are leaving the ER and they notice that Dorothy's car is coming straight towards them, which was expected, but it was coming at a high speed, really, really fast, and the lights were blinding. They were really, really bright, and they're wondering, like, wow, why is she driving like this? And they come through the ER and pass Pam and Conrad, and they're like really puzzled at this point because why is she not stopping? Maybe she's going back around. I don't understand. Well, she never comes back. And so at this point, they go, well, we got to find a plan B. We need to get home and we could talk to her about that tomorrow and find out, well, why didn't you just pick me up? Why did you fly past me? Maybe there was an emergency with Sean. Maybe there was a problem with Aunt Vera. But they took it with a grain of salt and they found their way. So even though Dorothy's car flew past Pam and Conrad, this wasn't sitting well with them. They go, we could wait till the next day, but this was just odd. And they go, I didn't even really get to see Dorothy in the car because the lights were so blinding. So they went to the police and they told them what happened because when they went by later on to the home, there was no sign of her car still. And they knew that this stalker was stalking her. So they went to the police, and the police finally decided to say, hey, normally we give 24 hours, but we know there's been a lot of reports, a lot of complaints. So we're going to investigate. Well, they did find the car about 10 miles from the hospital at 4:30 a.m. They found Dorothy's car, but Dorothy was gone. There was no sign of a struggle and no fingerprints, no clues, just a burning car and silence. So the day after, the local paper, if you will, the Orange County Register, gets a phone call, an anonymous phone call from a man stating, "You're looking for Dorothy? Well, I just want you to know I killed her. I loved her. She was cheating on me." He knew details only the killer would know. He knew what she wore, why she was at the hospital, and from 1980 to 1984, Dorothy's mother Vera would also now receive weekly phone calls. And Vera was like just amazed by this, like, oh my God, this must have been the person that Dorothy has been going through, and now this person is tormenting me. And so the police did try to trace them, but the caller never stayed online long enough to where they could catch and trace the call. So August 6, 1984, in Anaheim Hills, California, a person found remains of a skeletal body and a dog bone body as well, laying on top of the human skeletal bones. And this was weird because it was like, what is this? And then when they did grab it and do the testing in reference to whose bones they were, it did come up that with the dental records and also a ring, a turquoise ring that was found at the site, that this was Dorothy's remains. But the puzzling thing was this the death in reference to a ritual of some sort? Because why the dog? Why her ring? Why leave that there? Did the killer want to be found out like this was me? I want all the credit. I did this. But this was the situation of this unsolved case that takes place, that this person eventually stopped calls to Vera. They found the body, and there was a dog bone set on it and this ring. So to this day, there's still no clue. Unfortunately, it's been many years. No one's come forward and said, hey, I did know this person and talked about this to me at a bar. This is the unfortunate life and end tragedy of Dorothy Jane Scott. But even though the story officially ended from police files, the way I just said it to you, the story didn't just end there. People who have studied this, basically armchair sleuths, if you will, are wondering, who is the caller? Is Conrad and Pam, are they somehow involved? Is that hospital thing just a fluke? Now, there was records that Conrad was bit by a black widow spider. There's no denying that. But did they have a falling out? Were they together in cahoots, basically making a plan to get Dorothy? These are some of the sleuths that are coming up with things, some of the puzzling questions in reference to, were they involved? Now, the police never ever involved them. They didn't suspect. There was no real proof. If anything, they found them trying to be helpful friends. They even seen these two people, Pam and Conrad, at the police station when she made reports. So again, a lot of these things that you will find in reference to, could they be involved? Well, it's only because they felt it didn't mix together correctly because of the way things were broken down at the place of work that evening, going to the hospital. And why all of a sudden would you just not go home? Why would you feel it for, I better go to the police just in case this was something different, because we didn't get to see Dorothy when she passed through. The lights were so bright. But what gave them the instinct to say, you know what? Maybe that was the stalker. Let's go to the cops. And that's why that puts red flags for a lot of mystery sleuths out there. So just reflect on this. Put your statements in the comment box as well. Comment to us on this case. Do you think that Pam and Conrad were involved? Or do you think that there is some mystery man who was the caller, was the killer, and is still out there? Now, there was one more suspect, but we cannot say his name because he was completely cleared and doesn't want anything to do with being a part of this, even in the slightest. But I'm sure if you look deep enough, you probably could find something if it really meant that much to you. But he was cleared as well. And there was, again, a person out there that was briefly a suspect because of the whereabouts and also going to those stores and talking to her on occasion. So, again, look that up and come with your own case file to see. Nope, that guy did have a record, and nope, he seemed a little weird. And yep, I bet it was him. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but I'm going to leave that up to you to be the armchair sleuth and life coach. But I hope you enjoyed this episode of Criminal Psychology Files in the case of Dorothy Scott. And I look forward to seeing you on our next episode. But once again, if you can, subscribe, like, and share. And until next time, have a great day or evening, wherever you may be.